pause to commemorate the arrival of the enslaved labor force here to North America. Thank you very much. Now our Mistress of Ceremonies.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rita Robinson, and I'd like to first of all thank you all for coming to the Not Without Me Forum. We thank you for your presence here today. We know this has started since February of this year. We have gone through every month, the fourth Sunday of each month, till present. And we just like to thank you for taking your time to come and be a part of this. We have special thanks to the local branch of the NAACP. We have special thanks to the African American Historical Museum. We have special thanks to Lynn County Supervisors, to the Cedar Rapids Educational Association, and the Cedar Rapids Community School District. And as I started out, we'd like to thank all of you for taking out your time to come and help us put on this forum. So give each other a hand. That would be wonderful. Had 3 days of celebration at my church, celebrating 148 year celebration. So cans are falling apart because I've been writing fiercely, but that's all right. Again, we thank you for coming. Knowing that we end today our formal meetings, but this does not end our progress. We want to continue to grow. We want to continue to volunteer. We want to continue to solidify the connections that we have made. We want to continue to uplift our children. These times are rough times, so we need to be beacons of light for our kids. So please, take it upon yourself, whatever you've learned and whatever you felt, please continue to thank our children and think of them as they start back to school. The combination and the vision statement of all the meetings that we have had will be put together. The vision statement will be presented at the next school board meeting, which will take place September the 23rd at 5:30 in the afternoon. So as everybody in this room, you bring 3 more people and we're going to fill it all up. Okay? That sounds good. So we will have that. Mark your calendar, September the 23rd, 5:30, for the vision statement of what we have accumulated through all the meetings and what we plan to move forward with. As I said, this isn't our end. It's the end of us meeting together, but this is just the beginning of us getting started to help our kids who really need us. So again, welcome. Sit back and relax and enjoy yourself, and we will next have the recap of the forum and the goals.
Good afternoon. My name is Cory Johnson. Anthony Arrington is over there in the red. He will be is that better? He'll be an anchor for me. So I'm kind of like a transplant here. I'm actually living in Waterloo, but I work here in Veteran Affairs, and Nancy is a mentor of mine from back in the day. So she asked me to be a part, and I work as a volunteer at Washington High School in the B2B program with Chris Wright and some other people. So that is why I'm here. They asked me to serve, and I served. So the reason that this was initiated was because there's an achievement gap. My pastor says if you can't see it, you can't be it. And so if we don't know that there's these gaps in communities, we can't address them. So this forum was specific for that. How do we make sure the information that is needed will provide the kind of engagement from community members, parents, and children to do something about that? That's essentially what got us here. The gaps are in math, science, and reading. The question was always, how do we make sure the persons who are most influential in these children's lives help us with identifying supports in school and outside of school to address the achievement gap problem. So this forum put together persons from the faith-based community, administration from various schools, community members such as yourselves, businesses. There was pretty much the entire village was invited. That doesn't mean that every village person participated, which was one of the barriers for this experiment. The kind of progress we could have achieved would have been more manifested if we had consistent participation. So keep that in mind, because what Ms. Robinson said was, this is not the end. This is a continuation of what we kind of facilitated in terms of creating the vehicle by which we can create change. Parental and community engagement focuses, there's always a disconnect between what we think is best and what is best. So when we ask children, parents, teachers, administrators, what is the barrier for us being able to help our children succeed in schools? There was a variety of different things that were put into a spreadsheet, and I don't know if you put that out there for them. The result of it. So it was interesting. Some people talked about technologies. One of the biggest gaps for young persons consistently being a part of a day of schooling happens to be transportation and some other things. So those were some of the things that we talked about as a collective. We also met with the faith-based community and asked, what resources do you have that could assist us with meeting the needs of our children? But the needs of our children are also mirrored in the needs of their parents. So how do we make sure that people are engaged? And with that level of engagement, how do we make sure they feel welcomed in schools? Because there's an intergenerational level of oppression, there's an intergenerational level of distrust in certain systems, and the school system is not absent of those responsibilities. We asked questions about barriers. What is the ideal engagement? One of the things that came out of this whole situation was that you can't get parents to participate. Nobody said anything against that because it's the truth. Parental engagement was also one of the bigger factors of this forum. We still haven't unlocked that mystery. You would think that with persons as precious as the children in the future of this community and communities abroad, parents would want to be involved. And it's not that simple a statement because there's different levels to this. We haven't unearthed all of them, but there were a few. We'll talk about that later. So I mentioned before that we had a variety of different stakeholders. We met with the faith-based community both in this forum and outside of it, just to kind of tap what other things can be done, what other resources do you have, how likely are we to receive those in the school systems of greatest need. That was very interesting. And then the last thing that we talked about was pretty much the vision statement, and the vision document that we created was a collection of everything. But herein lies the problem. Because there was such a collection of different things at different states of this document being created, there was no consensus. And that consensus is key with getting everybody to be bought in, so this is how we move forward. And we're supposed to be able to present what we've created to the larger body that is in authority over the school system here, and we will, but it's also imperative that this is just a different level of engagement from you as community members, stakeholders, administration, or whatever. I hate this thing. I don't want to take too much more time, but pretty much that is kind of a collection of things from the beginning to now. How do we make sure parents and community members are engaged? How does that engagement relate to closing the achievement gap? That is, as succinctly as I can put it, why we came together, and every step we took held those two factors in mind. When we brought in stakeholders, when we talked about specific barriers and asked specific questions, how do we engage parents? How do we make sure that engagement relates to closing the achievement gap? Good? Great. I don't know who's next. Oh, sorry. Take that back. The presentation of final vision document will be Adam and Eric. Thank you.
good to be here this afternoon. My name is Adam Zimmerman. I'm the Executive Director for Middle Level Education and Community Partnerships. This is Eric Thompson. Eric Thompson. On a personal note, this has been a pleasure to work with this group, the committee that's put this together, to begin this work. And hopefully this is just the beginning. But over the last 4 months, we have we've asked the questions that Cory outlined, and we've gotten 4 to 5 different rounds of feedback on those questions. So today we hope to present to you the final version and culminating statement of that feedback. So we have 4 parts. We have a vision statement that I'll go over, the beliefs that underroot that, the definition of effective family and community engagement, and then the need statements from each of the groups that we have asked. The purpose of our time here is to get this in front of you and to do one more round of feedback. Any last questions before we present this to the board next month? So that's what we'll do. So our final vision, if everyone has it in front of them, is future success depends on present action. Our vision is for families, community members, and school staff to effectively partner to improve student learning. That vision is underlined by 3 core beliefs. First, that we believe all stakeholders are responsible and needed to close current achievement gaps. 2, we believe we must focus on specific challenges and populations of students and families. And 3, we believe trust between families and educators must be intentionally built and maintained. With that, we hope that this document can be the thing that comes out of this engagement that we can continue to work on as that foundational document. So we'll take the next 7 to 10 minutes in your table groups, read the need statements, our definition. We want any final round of feedback or questions from the group. We'll take those when we're done. So in your groups, have a discussion. Please, any questions or final pieces of feedback before we close.
A final opportunity to review the beliefs, definitions, current stakeholders, etc. If anybody has a question or a concern about what you've read or discussed, Adam and I will, to the best of our ability, field those questions at this time. Yes, sir.
I raised this question before when it came up earlier in the room. I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 months ago. Under definitions and number 4, requiring educators to examine their assumptions about families and operate from a growth mindset. I totally agree with that. But what I think is missing is that I think there needs to be some way to encourage the community members and parents and families to examine their assumptions about educators. And not to see them as the enemy or one who's trying to screw my kid because they're not doing it. I think that part is missing. I think it needs to be both ways.
I'd like to bring here with a vision is that I believe that it should be for the success of the student, because this vision still encourages us and them, because we're saying to a little bit louder so I can hear it clear. Okay, sorry. I believe on number 1. It says, are responsible and needed to close the current achievement gaps in our system. I realize that's what the goal is. But if you do that, you really can't be the ones that are doing well. So it should be the success of the student, not of the just in closing the gap. Because you can close the gap and you can still make the student. I'm not sure if anybody gets it. No, I'm sure.
And also, we discussed on this vision piece, there's a couple things. First of all, I want to my last thought first. Custodians, paraprofessionals, and teachers who work crossing guards and the people on the playground duty, they need to be engaged on what the theme is of the school. For an example, when the kid got off the bus one time, I was working, and the kid was crying, the worker says, "You two girls go to the office." They go to the office and they're sitting there one time. Nobody knows why they went to the office. They're just getting ready to school start. So I went to interview the two girls. They said, he called us names and pulled our hair. Then he got in front of us and ran off to go down to breakfast. So, and then he started to cry. The person on duty says, "Go to the office." So when I found out what happened, I said, "Young ladies, tell me." They all were mad. I said, "No. I want to know your side of the story." Their side of the story was, he cried only when he left. When I went to the teacher, I asked about the little boy. And her first thought was, "Ooh, Johnny," I'm just making the name. "Oh, he does that all the time." My point is, they were in the office thinking there was something wrong. Other comments, like you need to talk about vision, and I know your families. You girls were always in trouble, but not you two girls, but your family was in trouble. So automatically, because their last name was XYZ, obviously they're like XYZ. So the mindset of historical perception has to change at all levels. I never found out when I went custodian, I never could really figure out when I worked nights and they said, "Kumbaya, we're all family, we're going to have a party." So I get going, "You guys didn't work." I'm going, "You just told me I was family." And so on the top level, once upon a time, that PTA meetings during the day, well, I had to work. So when did I have a family? So if you have a lower job, in the mindset of the community, you don't meet the standards. And if you are higher and you can't, you know what I'm trying to say. So the other vision is, what I said to this gentleman is, we don't need to bring the community into the school, in my mind. We need to create our own community, and vision means new people. We need to take new ideas and go out to the community. The only thing in the community to me that changes, a new bridge, a church torn down, a parking lot, of buildings, materials. We know those types of changes. The change that we're talking about here takes time. It takes time. It's not an overnight thing. And then we need to take the anxiety out of this because it takes time. It may be a whole other generation, but at least they've heard it, they feel it. And my sister once told me, she said, "You're a late bloomer." Because they used to tell her how bad I felt about my school and I was capable of doing this. She said, "Don't feel bad. You're just a late bloomer." We needed a metro in my high school in Rockford. Well, what happened was the federal government took the school district over. Not in Mississippi, not in Alabama, but in Rockford, Illinois, the federal government took the school district over. Why? Because we were treated like we were in Arkansas, had to get on the back of the bus. If the bus was full, we had to get out. In Illinois, 90 miles northeast of Chicago. You said, "Well, that's no history." Dr. Thomas Sheen came over to my house. He wrote books of teachers program. He was my friend. He says, "Slayton, I know exactly what you did. We had a program just like this." I'm not bragging about myself, but I took all the remedial students I knew in Cedar Rapids, I'm in Rockford, Illinois, and formed the Inner City Student Council as a high school student. That council was dissolved in 1975. It became in Cedar Rapids, Metro, because we knew we weren't done. Some of us just poor, but we weren't poor in spirit or in mindset. Just the visual of what we look like, just like the kid with the hood on. I don't mean he's a gangster. But anyway, so briefly, I just no. But listen, if you don't tell it here, where do you tell it? Where do you tell it? When those kids went to school with Columbine, with those large trench coats on, and brought out those guns, why were they mad? Because nobody wanted to listen to them. So they brought it out. And I told this story when I first came here. I got out of the Army, I had a 45. I was looking for the principal of my high school. And my mother said, "You're already dead." So I took my double bag and dropped them in the water. But that's how angry I was at the principal. I'm 22, 23 years old, and I remember Franklin Elementary School. Don't say that words don't hurt. Words hurt. And if you can remember the teacher's face, remember the school and where she lived, and you're 23, now you got guns, you come out of the Army, you're looking for that, not the Vietcong, but the principal. So how many kids are walking around our school district waiting to grow up to look for the principal? How many kids have we looked over serving hamburgers now because they didn't get a good education, now they're going to serve your hamburger, what were they going to fix that hamburger for you? Or you're in a nursing home, now they're pushing you down the handicap ramp because you told them you can always join the Army. That's what they told my foster son. You can always join the Army. So there's some real things to hear. They're real life. But all this takes time. And I want the school district, the last thing I want to say is vision. I want the school districts then to have those vision statements on. Because if you don't put vision in your feet, they stand still on the wall. It's just a poster. And when the rules, if you got the rules in the school, don't be afraid to enforce the rules. If your rules say no hat in the school, that's fine. No hat in the school. If they say no short dresses, no short dresses. That's for the PTA mama, the soccer mama, and the whoopie doopie mama. Every mama gets the same message. You're not discriminating when you do that. They'll respect you as a person because you stood your ground. Instead of saying stand your ground to kill somebody, you stand your ground to educate somebody. Thank you very much.
So one thing back to number one is where at the end it says we need to close the current achievement gap system. It's not just achievement, it is opportunity gaps that kids have. Achievement is a very deficit model thinking, and we know that unfortunately because of how our system of economies works, that our children from the very early ages are not getting the same opportunities. And the most powerful years in brain development is birth through age 3, really, but birth through 5-year-old is critical. And so we as a community as a whole, we cannot place in the school district, and parents are just being punished for the city and the county. We need to improve the educational opportunities and experiences that our children get to close that gap, because really it's an opportunity gap.
I've been to all of these sessions, and I looked this over, and if I were to take this home to my wife, who is an old white woman, she'd look at it and say, oh, that's nice, because I don't, we started out and Ms. Humboldt told us that the big issue here was closing the gap for African American students in our schools, that they're suffering the worst. And so I don't see anything in here about African American students or African American families. And if this is put before our school board, a month from now, or the next school board is going to look at it, and they're not going to know what was even being talked about. So I'm thinking that maybe it could be sharpened up, and when we talk about students, we say African American students. And when we talk about families getting supported and building trust, and we talk about African American families getting supported and so on. So that's my thought.
We talked about the needs section, and we had 2 comments, and correct me if I'm not getting around quite right, but there were 2, one more of a question and then another suggestion. Under educators, we were just surprised that there was only one thing listed that educators need. And none of us are actually educators, so we couldn't necessarily come up with any suggestions.
Adam wrote that.
Wondered if maybe there's more there. And then the second was, we've had comments from district staff, would you say, that maybe the communication from district to staff should be 2-way instead of 1-way.
All of us that are a part of this committee are extremely appreciative, unconditionally, of all of these opinions. And prior to turning this over to Ms. Noreen Bush for the district news, I'll leave with this one comment. Wynton Marcellus said in the first clinic I attended at New England Observatory, he said, if you want to hear your greatest idols sound terribly, listen to them practice. This is practice, and unfortunately there are many people in society, and politicians notwithstanding, and those make 6 figures or those who make $6, that are afraid to say the words that truly mean something. People are afraid to look at the muck and the mire of things that cause duress, meaning you have to say exactly what you mean. And in order for the community to have 100% respect and engagement and trust in the school district and the schools, and for the schools to have 100% unconditional trust of the community, each has to literally listen to each other. But they have to show up. With that said, I'd like to turn this over to our superintendent, Ms. Noreen.
So, good afternoon. Wonderful to see all of you this afternoon. And grab the mic. Thank you, President Huggles.
She knows I'm a hand talker. So I will grab the mic. Thank you, President Huggles. I'm also a little bit of a walker. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your engagement from the spring until now. This has been a 6-month journey, and the discussion has really surfaced, I think, what Eric just discussed, and that is the raw and the real. The parents who've been here throughout these past several months have talked about their personal experiences, their true stories, how we as a school district can improve, but also how as a community we, the willingness to come together and to serve our children together. So I think that was the vision from the very beginning, is how do we engage with each other and improve together and wrap our arms around our children as one complete community. I have never sensed in my entire career such a sense of willingness. Like, everybody is so willing to wrap their arms around our children together. So now it's just a matter of the how. How do we do it together? And so I think that we have, I really appreciate the document and what it's captured so far. And I'm an English teacher, so I don't think like any piece of writing is ever done. It's always a work in progress. But this too, what I'm going to share with you today, is our work in progress. We, 2 years ago, launched a 5-year strategic plan as a school district with the pronouncement of equity. And how are we serving all children in our district? And that all children have access and, as Kelly noted, opportunity to learn, to grow, and that we can personalize for them, and that they know that we know who they are and will support them. So this is our continued draft, but I'm going to give you this year's version of where we are with our strategic plan. Our vision is every learner future ready. And I have to do it because I'm a cheerleader for our district and very proud to be so. I say every learner, you say future ready. Every learner, future ready. Thank you. Every learner means each and every child. Future ready means wherever they are within their life journey, they're ready for the next step. So if they're 0 to 3 years old, they're ready for preschool. If they're in preschool, they're ready for kindergarten. When they're in kindergarten, they're ready for first grade. All the way through when they graduate from our system, that they know through multiple pathways and experiences of where they may step into the world to be prepared for their next journey. Our mission is to ensure that all learners experience a personalized learning experience so that they can leave our system with a plan and a pathway, and they know their passion for their future. So that means that they need a plethora of opportunities. And I don't think all those opportunities live within the 4 walls of the school. They live within our community. And our children need access to the great things that we have within our community to discover their passions. We were just discussing at our table that every child deserves a champion in their life. And when they're in our schools, we hope that they can say, you are my person. We want them to be engaged with every adult, but that they have a connection to an adult where they say, you are my person. But if it's not within our school, then how is our community helping us make sure that that happens for each and every child? The volunteerism that's been suggested throughout these series of forums is amazing. And to have that constant engagement and that our kids see that the community wants to be part of their life is a super opportunity for us to be able to deliver on that vision and mission. So the purpose, briefly, for the duration of the time that I have the microphone here, is to really give you an overview of our plan, how we will continue on our strategic plan to deliver on that promise for every child. 2, to connect the Not Without Me work to our strategic plan intentionally, and that the input that's happened has influenced what we've put on paper and how we want to continue as a school district. And then finally, highlight opportunities of how we can continue to work to move forward together. So, our strategic plan is really anchored, of course, in the vision of every learner. Love it. And our beliefs. So these are our beliefs, and they all start with that pronoun we. I said this to our entire faculty and staff forum, which was on Thursday. All of us were at the ICE Arena together. And when these belief statements were written about 4 years ago, they all start with we. The power of we. But the people who wrote this were community members and staff members. And that pronoun was intended from the very beginning to be about how we work together, what we believe for our kids as an entire system. It's not that Cedar Rapids Community School District believes it, it's that what we believe as a community for our kids. So it is pronounced in our strategic plan that we believe in leadership and that every child can lead their life. We believe in innovation, that we have to create new opportunities and different opportunities. You saw the article this weekend in the Gazette about McKinley becoming a STEAM academy, and they're going to follow that series all year long, thinking differently about how we help kids find their passions and their paths. Equity, that each and every child gets what they need and when they need it, and they do not all need the same thing. We believe all kids can learn at high levels. We're going to provide the same guaranteed and viable curriculum for all children, but that they also need different things at different times. I love the pronouncement of the kids who are already accelerated, right? They're already getting it. Well, then they might need something else or something different. And the children who need to come along, we need to give them what they need and when they need it, so we can go there quickly. Not wait and say, well, we'll get at it next year. No, now. Now giving them what they need. Student ownership. This is research. It tells us that when children know what's expected, they can see the clear outcome, and they own it, they're more likely to do it. And so when they own their own learning, they are more likely to accelerate. Culture and climate, I think that's a lot of what we've been talking about. Climate is that we feel good. Culture is what emulates in what we believe. And we believe that we have to involve our community, and that's pronounced in our belief statement. And then finally, student learning. That's what it's all about. And it's not just learning the academics. Yes, reading and writing and math and science and social studies and any elective, but learning about themselves from a social emotional sense. Can they self-regulate? Do they know how to de-escalate themselves if they're upset? And do they know their joy? Do they know what they love? And that too is about student learning, is from a social emotional lens. So we have 4 focus areas that help us get at the actions of what we're going to do as a school district. First is that focus on culture. A lot of where we start is how do we help our adults learn? And so just on Friday, I was able to see in Washington High School that there was implicit bias training. They're continuing their work. We have a professional development we call the intercultural developmental mindset. And it is about how do we grow our mindset around knowing ourselves and knowing how we perceive other cultures. So I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, young child. Before I moved to Cedar Rapids, my intercultural developmental mindset was different when I came to Fillmore Elementary. Where's Slayton? All right, Slayton was Mr. Thompson to me when I first met him at age 7. He was a custodian at Fillmore Elementary. And my mindset as a young child coming from Detroit, Michigan was different than that of my peers. Because most of my peers in Detroit were African American children. When I walked into Fillmore Elementary in my 2nd grade classroom, there was not one other African American child in the room, and I thought, where are all my friends? Slayton was the custodian in the building, and I think one of the only African-American people in the entire building. And my teacher quickly figured out I was losing my identity, so guess who came to read with me? Eric Thompson. And Slate and I didn't even know that story about each other until about a year ago. I get choked up about it. But he made a difference in my life, and my teacher knew what needed to happen. So that's the type of thing that has been happening in Cedar Rapids for a long time. I'm not going to disclose my age, but I'm no longer 7. But my teacher had a great intercultural developmental mindset. She knew, and that's what we want all of our adults to be able to know. Identify what our children need, and to grow themselves, and to own it. It's okay. It's okay if you don't understand there's someone else's culture, but are you willing to learn? Student learning, that's our pronouncement, not just on the achievement gap and the opportunity gap, but also on what we were discussing earlier, growth. How are our children growing? Workforce, we have a clear plan and intend to continue to diversify our workforce. Our children deserve to see faces that are familiar to them in their classroom. We were discussing that at our table as well. And so how do we diversify our workforce? We have a plan to be able to grow our own. We have children in our system who want to be educators someday, and we want them to teach for Cedar Rapids Community School District, or be paraprofessionals in Cedar Rapids Community School District, or be administrators in Cedar Rapids Community School District. And how do we rear our own children in our workforce, as well as recruit from a national point of view, or international point of view. And then finally, systems and resources. I think you all know that we will be building the first new building in Cedar Rapids in nearly 2 decades. And the building needs support. Coolidge Elementary will be our first. It needed a lot of repair, and that part of town, we've got a population growth, and it will be the first of a new building that our kids so need. And we hope that those kinds of plans of systems and resources reinvent and re-envision our school district. So each one of those focus areas has a purpose statement, similar to the statement that you see in front of you, actually. Purpose measures, how do we hold ourselves accountable? What gets measured is what gets done. So if we want to diversify our workforce, we better keep our eye on how are we doing that, and is it actually happening, and the strategies to do it. So we put in place a framework that's really owned at the school level called the High Reliability Schools Framework. And I liken it to other reliable systems. When I'm on an airplane and it's coming in for a landing, I feel pretty secure because I know it's a highly reliable system that's going to land that plane. There's someone out there, I don't know what they call it, the air traffic controllers, right? Giving signals, telling you how to land the plane. So I know it's pretty predictable no matter where I am, no matter what airport I am, it's going to be a pretty predictable system. That's the same thing we want for our schools. It's reliable. People know that every single school, kids learn at high levels. They're going to be accepted, they're going to feel safe, and they're going to feel secure, and they're going to achieve. We have focused on level 1 for the past year and a half, and that is we have a safe, supportive, and collaborative environment. So that's not just physical safety, that's emotional safety too. So that work, as we move throughout our school improvement process, will of course hopefully get to a place where all children have a personalized learning plan for themselves. Each individual child getting what they need. So highly effective teaching, guaranteed and viable curriculum, and then being in a place where we can actually not just say you have an A in English, but what is it that created your A in English, and that's more of a standards-based environment for our kids. So this is the not without me vision. Future success depends on present action. Our vision is for families, community members, and school staff to effectively partner to improve student learning. A lot of alignment to the Cedar Rapids Community School District vision, and that's not by mistake, I don't think. I think that's because we are truly trying to work together as a community. So our connections are, if we unpack that high reliability schools framework, This is the safe and supportive collaborative culture. And these are two what we call indicators that are helping us assess if we are delivering on that promise. So 1.2, students, parents, and the community perceive the school environment as safe and orderly. And 1.6, students, parents, and the community have formal ways to provide input regarding the optimal functioning of the school. Instead of us just saying, hey, come on to the school and let us know how we're doing, we need to get out more and reach out into our community. Kelly, give me a hand wave. Kelly and I did this about a month ago, went and knocked on some doors together of our community to say, what do you think about our schools? Do you like what you see? Are there things that we can do to improve? So from informal ways to formal ways of getting input. Thanks, Adam. So here's some of the connections we made through the pronouncements of the Not Without Me Forum, how it's really helped us as a school district surface what our next steps can be in strategies and actions. Pronouncement on transportation, access, communication, and how can we get better with that communication, and the intercultural development. So for transportation, I'm super excited about this, just so you know, in case you didn't know about this. We have worked on an agreement with the city that every single child will have a bus pass if they just show their Cedar Rapids ID. For free, every child. And that's all year round, 24/7, although the buses don't run 24/7, so we gotta work on that next. But all of our kids will be able to have access to the city bus system for jobs, for going to school, for whatever they need. So that's super, super exciting. And then also we have our new app, which can be accessed not just from a smartphone, but also on the internet, which gives you constant updates about your child's route. And so if there's a change, or if the bus is running late, real time, everyday data, you'll know where your bus is, and any updates from that as well. So excited about that information too. The family needs statement. Families need consistent and ongoing communication regarding progress of students. So first and foremost, making sure that we are accessible. I think in face-to-face communication, nothing beats it. That's the number one thing, and making sure that our teachers are reaching out to families, and families know that they can reach out to their teachers. That is always the number one spot, is people who are with your kids every day. And then two, our new student information system, Infinite Campus. If you were to go to our website and bookmark that, you can see as a parent when you log in, you can see your child's attendance, you can see their behavior, you can see how they're doing academically, and that's constant access for our families. But when in doubt, give that teacher a call. They're that number one person. And then Not Without Me family need statement number 5. Families need educators to recognize and bridge between lines of difference, intercultural competency. We have, at this point in time, is it 11 schools, Adam? It's 11 total who have gone through that intercultural developmental mindset training. And then our hope is 100%. It just takes some time to get there and getting access to that professional development. There are deeper dives to that training, and again, I'll highlight Washington High School. They went through some initial training last year, and then they did a deeper dive last Friday on implicit bias. Future opportunities, then. Here we go. We're going to highlight some things specifically in some of our schools, and we have some of our leaders here today who can speak to those. So first one, Johnson STEAM Academy. Candy Lynch, principal, could not be here today, but I do want to tell you some special news. This was announced about a week ago, and we got a ceremony tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning at Johnson. Johnson STEAM Academy is the first certified magnet school in the state of Iowa. In the state of Iowa. And there's different levels of that certification. Johnson, right out of the gate, was at the highest level of the distinguished rating. So proud of Johnson and the work that they've done. That is emulating hard work. But also the educators in that building frequently are reaching out to their community, and there's a lot of two-way street that happens at Johnson. Long time traditions of community engagement at Johnson. So proud of that work. This is some of their continued work at Johnson. They have an app, a technology app called Seesaw, and it's also like little mini websites for each teacher, and that's how they push information out. Parents can go to that at any time. You just don't have to wait for information to be accessed. You can go there yourself, and teachers give frequent updates. They always want families in schools, so please know that face-to-face conversation is always welcome, and that phone calls, and they do a lot of home visits at Johnson as well. So if there's frequent absences and having a hard time getting a hold of families, they'll usually send a couple faculty members out to the home, knocking on the door and say, how can we help? How can we get your kiddo to school? So that's some of Johnson's strategies in regards to communication. Formal partnership with Four Oaks for immediate access to family supports. We have deep relationships with Tanager, Four Oaks. In the past, we've had some relationships with St. Luke's as well. And this Four Oaks is more of casework, so that children who qualify for services with Four Oaks, we have a relationship with them so they can come in and work with families during the school day. Instead of having to wait for an appointment in the evening or another time, they can come in and get those supports right in the school. And then finally, family community events hosted at JSA all the time. Tomorrow's one of them, 10 o'clock in the morning. Come on down to Johnson STEAM Academy and see them get their award. Next one is, I think we have McKinley. Mr. Martinez couldn't be here tonight. Adam, maybe you can hop in on this as well. Again, the article yesterday was about McKinley doing some home visits, but Adam works a lot with McKinley and will tell you a little bit about their engagement strategies.
Yeah, as the article last night highlighted, home visits is a big focus for them this year. So they hit 150 doors last weekend, and they're going to continue that effort throughout the year. Other focuses they're doing one event per night that they want community members in. So some of the starts will be donuts for dad, muffins for mom. In the newsletter each month, they'll highlight a new family strategy to bring community members in. And then every Friday, this is a partnership that came out of the Not Without Me forums, is Lights On Cedar Rapids. They have over 100 kids coming to the gym, playing basketball, getting connected every Friday night, and that'll continue throughout the school year. One of the most exciting things that has come out of the Not Without Me for McKinley that Jason is very proud of is that they have 4 consistent volunteers coming to the building every week. It's little, right here, is their best, but they are most consistent, but they appreciate all the help and are looking for more. So next for Washington.
Mr. Klein, want to come on down? You're the next contestant. Oh, it's Metro. Sorry. Sorry. Hey, it's a little warm up. And Principal Dan DeVore from Metro High School.
I think everybody got tired of hearing about Washington anyway, right? So these things are really the pieces that this specific event has helped us kick off. There's nothing grand here. Pretty some obvious things. Some low-hanging fruit is like, let's get a better job of detailing interested volunteers and reaching out to them when we have opportunities. And then on the flip side, making sure we have our opportunities posted more visibly and clearly on our website, but as I heard from Lyle, that's not always the best way to advertise. So that'll be through the Facebook page and Twitter as well. The other thing that's come from this, incidentally, is more collaboration with the African American Museum. So Lanisha had written a grant, and our students were highlighted in the Humanize My Hoodie exhibition that was here. And then those posters we keep, we'll put them out again at an upcoming family community night. And then we have ally training tomorrow afternoon after the students leave with our staff that's interested with the group that does the Humanize My Hoodie. So some of those partnerships and another exhibit piece that our art group helped create here and trying to continue that. The other thing I'll say is if you look at the families piece in our goals, it's something that is kind of embedded in Metro. So initially when a student comes in, they have to come to the building with a parent or a guardian of some kind, an adult in their life even, to kind of hear what we're about, why we do those things, and how we operate. They're also assigned an advisor immediately, and that advisor is that main go-to for anything school-related. So we always tell parents, hit your advisor first. If you're not satisfied with that answer or they don't know, then by all means talk to us. But the reason we do that is so they can create that bond and that trust between the school and the family immediately. So now, Washington High School.
All right. So first, I'd like to just thank everybody for participating in this forum. Getting here on a Sunday before school starts, it's a big effort for those of us that are educators, parents, and community members, so appreciate that. I'm going to hit the middle slot or square first. Noreen talked about what's measured gets done, and our first school improvement goal is to increase parent engagement. And we have a particular target on parents of underrepresented subgroups, and we have a number on that target. And one of the challenges, I think, is getting our educators to understand that it's not just about coming to the school or finding stuff. We've got to take school to them and engage them. And so we have a really, really simple little survey that we've created. And what it does is it asks parents their knowledge of our iLearning program. So our iLearning program is to support both remediation and also acceleration. It's to support math, reading, social, emotional, behavior, and mental health needs. So the survey is really, really quick. It's easy. And it just asks their knowledge of it, because what we've also found is that parents aren't aware of the opportunities. Sometimes students aren't aware of the opportunities. So it asks them about that, and then it asks, are you interested or do you think your child could use additional support or enrichment in math, reading, social, emotional, mental health or behavior support? And on the backside of that, our staff will follow up with those parents to engage them. And so we have a specific target of reaching a certain number of parents with that. So we've already kicked that off, and we kicked that off at something that's not here. That's a really awesome event that happened on August 13th, and that's Picnic in the Park, which we hold in Redmond Park to engage families and to provide school supplies, book bags for our children. And I'll also say that we still have supplies, so for families that were not able to make that, just have them reach out to me or reach out to Sarah Swayze, and we can accommodate them. Washington Volunteer Program. So I've been blessed to have two parents to step up and be volunteer coordinators, and that is Dennis McDermott and Marcy Boyd. And so what they are doing is they are hitting the streets hard and recruiting volunteers. So finding people that are interested, figuring out what their skills are and what their availability is, and finding a way for us to plug them into the school. The What's Up at Wash evening event series started, it started last year. And what that is when I came to Washington, I said, the PTA meetings are awesome, but they're at 9 in the morning, which is tough for a lot of folks. So let's see what we can do to provide events in the evening. My first year we did an evening PTA, we did 2 evening PTA meetings, and then last year we kicked off the What's Up at Wash series and had great success. The first one of these events featured I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. Thank you. ASAC, yeah. ASAC, so Substance Abuse Awareness, and then we had our ASAC counselor and also prevention counselor come and set up a mock bedroom for parents. They set up a mock bedroom for parents to learn about different substances and what those might look like. We also had CRPD come and Kirkwood come. So those are just some of the opportunities that we have in Washington, and appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Klein, and Mr. DeBoer, and Mr. Zimmerman. So the work continues. I love the title of this as being Not Without Me, because that means that we're all engaged in it. but I love the power of we, which is what we keep discussing as a school district. So thinking about each one of us is in that we. So not without me, I'm in the we. And that we can't do this work alone, and want you to be able to reach out to us, and any individual thing that we can do to do better, we want to. So we want to maintain the focus of the power of we and community engagement. I think you heard from each one of our administrators here, not just asking people to come to schools, but how are we bringing ourselves to the community and being accessible, that we need to track and monitor progress. So what I would love to see as this work moves forward is how will we determine success? What will tell us that we are being successful? And if the focus is family and student engagement, then what will help us with that metric? And then of course, absolutely, it's our student performance and how our kids are doing. We know that that will be a way to track and monitor progress. And then adjust as we need to along the way. Know that we want to be flexible with our work, but want to be real about it and dig in and get it done. Get it done for kids. I know this is the greatest community. And those of you, I call myself a Cedar Rapidian. I've chosen this place as my home. And I truly believe, as the leader of this district, as a superintendent, we will deliver on the promise. It's just a matter of how. So excited for the next steps. Power of we. So who do I hand this microphone over to next, Adam Zimmerman? Mr. Arrington, coming on down. Thank you.
I don't need the mic, I got a loud mouth. We're just wrapping up, so I'm not going to take too much of your time repeating. I just want to thank everybody for what you're doing and your help and support in the community. So a couple quick housekeeping items, and then what we're going to do is really just open it up for you guys to network. We thought that there will be some more groups here. I'm sorry.
I do have a question.
Yes.
I haven't heard. Has it been addressed about biases and disciplinary practices in schools?
Yes, we will address that. Yeah.
And how is that being? Is that being?
Yeah, we have a strategic part. We've got a bunch. We're going to do a report out. So all the things we gather, we're going to do like a written report that we presented to the school board meeting on September 23rd.
I got a question. Have y'all, what was the issue of police officers in schools? Was that discussed? How they utilize? That was, and I just want to put one down here. The United Nations had a thing that recommended that police officers not be used in schools. So it's something that I think y'all should really look at.
I know over the last 7 months that police officers, policing in schools has come up, and we've had that discussion. And I'll have to go back to the notes.
And then, as a point of reference, you should check with the Denver schools did in terms of that issue.
Yeah, share that information. That's good. Okay. So a couple of quick housekeeping items. Just take your trash up to the garbage cans if you guys don't mind. And then again, take some lunches. We thought more people would be here. Take some lunches home. Feed somebody. I know somebody's hungry at home. Take some lunches. And then taking a light energy bag as well. So, any questions? Because after this, what we'll do is Dee will say a few words of thanks, and then we will just have you guys hang around and network. There's teachers here, there's educators, there's volunteers here. So let's try to take advantage. If you could put your name and number up there if you plan to come to the school board meeting. If you plan to come there, go ahead. But if you want us to remind you, we're going to be making some reminder calls probably the week of that meeting to remind everybody. We want to fill that room up. Nobody goes to school board meetings. I'm trying to be better at that myself. So please come if you can.
Yes. One more thing, though, I'd like to say, because one of the things we wanted to happen, too, is folks to volunteer or to commit to volunteering some time within the schools. So I believe we have a form here for folks if they have an interest to sign up, because that was one of the things we wanted, folks to commit. Because we talked about community and parental engagement. This will be a time to say, school starting on Monday. You decide on a school, contact them. You coming into the schools can truly make a difference in students' lives. Even if it's just sitting down having a meal, helping them with reading, maybe recess. Okay, someone coincidentally recess. So those of you that signed up for that, be physically fit. But this is the time now to say, okay, I'm going to commit. And that was the intent of some of the forums, and also to attend the school board meeting on September the 23rd, because the vision statement was showing your support, and it's nice to see the Cedar Rapids Community School District and not without me. We're collaborating because we want the best for our children in this district. So now, instead of saying, hey, you know, I'm thinking about it, I'm asking you to make a commitment, saying, this is what I can do. This is how I can give back to my community and impact the children in the Cedar Rapids School District.
About volunteers, I'm Jerry Hillsey. I'm retired. We're 17 years after 40 years of the Gazette. I'm a volunteer at Taylor School where I'm a first grade tutor in reading. I don't say that because I'm bragging. I'm like Clayton. I'm bragging about that. But I want to emphasize that because my demographic is aging out. Who comes next? Well, we have a bunch of young retires who are members of the baby boomer generation. A lot of you are members of that. We have a reputation, not you guys. At large, there's a reputation of not volunteering as much as a silent generation. Now that means economic, but our studies show that to be true. And one thing about baby boomers born between 45 and 64 is that they want their volunteer work to be talent-driven. They don't want to show up and have somebody say, oh, well, Mike plug you in the office where you can help you. They want it to be talent-driven. And one thing that the volunteers really want is connection with kids if it's possible. And one way to do that is to plug in curriculum of all things. Be tutors for kids who need intervention and be with those kids. Matthew 25 has a model program for this because 12 years ago we started in Taylor, and it's a very structured program. More schools should have Matthew 25. But other schools, some Hoover maybe and a few others, have had tutors from faith-based organizations. Now, how do we get through the state separation from church? Well, you don't proselytize. One church first grader doesn't know Jesus Christ and Zorro. So don't proselytize. It can be done. And I think the churches in this community have any number of volunteers. They come in a way, people who are reticent about volunteering alone might come in through. That's a big possibility. So when I came here in February, I've been to 6 meetings with Beaker over Metro in Memorial Day weekend. I envisioned a cadre of multiracial volunteers coming to schools very soon. And if this can be effective, I don't know if results can be quantified, but we will get results. I want to thank everybody connected with this, the planners, the expediters, and the stakeholders for being part of this. I think this will be a very productive bunch of sessions. I'm looking forward to what happens next month. Thank you.
I just want to say that there's also a group called Snapping that Bishop Doolin and Shelby Holmes and myself work with kids that are struggling, whether it's behavioral, mental, whatever. We actually go into the school, and we teach them their culture, and how to be proud of who they are, So if you need some assistance with that, please contact us. I know they have business cards for them. I do.
So what we would like to, because we're going to go into networking, so this is a great opportunity for you to talk to each other and get connected. And goal is, as you can see there, we have folks signing up to volunteer. Teacher is the president of the NAACP. I believe you have some final words.
Well, it's an administrative question. Working with children, I know we have to have background checks. Do you have the forms here for that, or have information how we need to do that?
We do, they do have to have background checks. We have that process. If we have the names here, people signing up, we'll make sure to walk them through that process.
Under the volunteer
Yep,
piece there.
yep.
This sheet right here on
Yes.
the right. So once again, I'm Deacon Doolin, I'm president of the NFCP. I want to thank you all for coming out on behalf of the NFCP and the museum, African American Museum. But we want to make sure we emphasize, I know you've heard it, we want to emphasize, we need you to step up. It's nice to sit down and talk, but we need people to show up. You know, be volunteers in person. And if whatever you're able to do, whatever your interest is, make sure the school knows that. If you can only volunteer an hour, that's an hour. That's an hour more. But you know, when you bend down to help a child, that's really an important thing you can do. Some children just need to know. I don't know if you saw the LeBron School. Y'all heard of LeBron James School? You know one of the most important things his school did was they have people that welcome those children, that show those children love when they walk in the school from day one. They have people greeting them. So if that's all you can do, but whatever you can do, your little piece will make a difference. Every piece and every person can make a difference. And we're hoping that this community will be a community that will work together for the best of the community, for our children, and take all the children, if you don't even have children, and take that as a commitment to do. So we're going to give you an opportunity to fellowship and greet one another and talk with one another, and hopefully we can all come together as one community. Thank you for coming out.